Good day. It's Brad Langille here. I'm the CEO of GoGold Resources, and we're a company that's focused on Mexico. We've been there for 30 years now between the companies we've built, and we're getting ready to build mine number 5 in our time in Mexico, Los Ricos South. We now have a permit ready to go.
Well, that's the big news of the day, Brad. Good to see you. You got the permit. It's taken a while to kind of work through the system, but there's starting to be issues. So, good news indeed. So, what I guess we want to start with, if you don't mind, what have you been doing whilst you've been waiting? You haven't been sitting around waiting for this thing. What have you done?
Right. It's been a bit of a wait. It's been a little over 3 years. What we've been doing is, of course, we have an operating mine. Our Parral operation, which is generating 70 to 80 million a year in free cash flow, which has given us a strong balance sheet. We're at the end of the last quarter, we had 262 million in the bank, and we're probably a little closer to 280, 285 right now. We've been doing detailed engineering for our Los Ricos South project. And what that means is we take the feasibility and basically turn it into blueprints. And we get all the details on especially long lead time items, which then we can order them. So we put a deposit actually about 4 months ago on our SAG mill and on our filter presses so that we won't be delayed waiting for those. We've also been building a power line from a hydro dam 36 kilometers away. And and we now have all the permits to build. We're ready to go. We've been letting other contracts like earthworks contracts, underground mine contractor. It's Camimbi, the largest underground mine contractor in Mexico. Those contracts have been let. So we're really ready to hit the ground running here.
Yeah, it's interesting actually because you've had that Parral revenue stream, in your back pocket, as it were. You're in the enviable position that you've had cash whilst waiting for a permit. Most companies will use the permit being allocated as a mechanism to go and raise capital. So in terms of those various work streams, obviously detailed engineering is happening, long lead items being acquired, logistics being put in place. And how long left on the various kind of work streams?
Yeah. And so it's really over the next 2 weeks, we should be starting to mobilize earthworks equipment to site. And we have some other contractors there right now doing just a little more geotechnical and on the underground. We're hoping that, we've planned very conservatively in the feasibility study for 20 meter sublevels in the underground. So we think we can maybe extend those to 30 meters, which would cut down our underground cost of development by about 30%. So that's some of the things we've been doing. But really, I'd like to also stress that with that balance sheet and with a $227 million CapEx build, and us being about 280 plus right now, we don't have to slow down and go to arrange financing. We have all the money to go. So that really puts us in the driver's seat right now that we can advance this thing quickly. I think, kind of a rough idea how things are going to come here. Earthworks, obviously, first. That's the first part. And then we'll get into foundations and start building the mill. And at the same time, on the underground, probably towards the end of the summer, we'll be starting down that ramp. It's all ramp access, no shaft. And get down to, into the fall, get down to the mining areas where we're going to do our first stoping.
Yes, right. So you're hitting the floor running. You won't need to go out and finance. In terms of the kind of, I guess, physical activity on the ground, what the investors are going to see you, start moving through the phases here. What can you kind of lay that out? What does that actually look like in sort of time parcels? Over the next 6 months, what will we see, and ultimately what happens before this thing finally gets built?
Yeah. So over the next 6 months, you're going to see earthwork, foundations, start of the mill, and the portal or the entrance to the underground mine, and starting down that ramp. Those things are all going to happen over the next 6 months. The power line, we're just continually building that. We've already started that. And it's a 24-month build from commencement to first pour. And in actual fact, and you mentioned earlier that, hey, what have you been doing while you've been waiting? This work that we have been doing on our kind of Gantt chart, our schedule to build, the first several months were all around detailed engineering. So that's actually all done. We're 75% done. So we can maybe even shorten up that timeline a little bit, because we got to jump on that. So the other thing I would want to mention is, Los Ricos South is the build and commencing now. And we've made that official mine build decision, at a board meeting on the weekend, actually, just to make it official. But the other thing that we're doing in the district is we do have our Los Ricos North project as well, 18 kilometers away. And that project is at an earlier stage study, but it's the next one to build in the district. And what we have to do up there, in the parallel track, we're going to have 2 teams going, but in the north, some infill drilling, and we'll be mobilizing drill rigs there right away. To shore up the resources and maybe to add some. And we'll also be doing the engineering to bring that to a full feasibility study in the north. So really, this is conceptually can be a district build, because the 24 months that we're building the south, we hope to have the north with a permit by the time we finish and have that first pour in the south and have all the engineering done and move that build team up to Los Ricos North and start building.
Remind me, Brad, what is the permit currently cover you for? Because obviously with Los Ricos North, you're going to be presumably still got some, I don't know, geotechnical, hydrological, underground design work, engineering,
Yes.
whatever you kind of got to get through. Does any of the kind of current permit cover some of that work for Los Ricos North?
It technically does not, but I think that's a very good question, in that practically now we have a permit in the district, and we've gone through with the environmental authority all of that work to get that permit. So I don't believe that Los Ricos North will be anywhere near as hard to get a permit. I think really, it will be where we waited 3 years and 2 months for the South. Part of that was a different administration, same party, political party, but a different administration. The current president, Claudia Sheinbaum, has been in for, coming up on 2 years now. And she has been much, much more open to mining. So that'll be part of the reason why it'll be a shorter timeline to get a permit in the north. And the other is it's almost, I believe, going to be treated somewhat as an extension permit.
Right. Okay. Interesting. And so just on that then, Los Ricos South, remind me again, it's been this, well, we talked last time, it's a bulk tonnage underground mine, but what are the similarities with Los Ricos North, which will ultimately, one, I guess, make sure that the team are kind of fit for purpose, but also this ease of permitting, or this kind of transition through Los Ricos North will be made easier.
Like environmentally, the flora, fauna, all of that is the same. And so that part of the environmental impact. And the other thing is Los Ricos North could be the same geology. These are big, wide structures with good grade, really good grade, that can be mined very productively in a bulk underground mine and at low cost. So both Los Ricos North and Los Ricos South are all-in sustaining costs of $12 per silver equivalent ounce. But in the north, it could be open pit or it could be underground. Obviously, the open pit would give a better NPV, or it could be a combination of the two as well. And I would still say underground is, easier to permit in Mexico. But we have seen in recent history, another company from Halifax, kind of our group of companies, received an open pit permit just before the end of the year last year, Silver Tiger. So, and we're waiting on Discovery and Agnico Eagle's San Nicolas project. If those permits are granted, then it's very clear that we're asking for an open pit permit in the north. And it's not a sensitive area. There's not a lot of people up there. So, yeah, I think it should be relatively easy compared to the south to get a permit in the north. The engineering is straightforward. The infill drilling, we're going to have a lot of news flow coming from there, Matthew. We're going to have get back to the GoGold of 2021, 2022, 2023, where every, three weeks we had press release on drill results, out of the north, and also on top of that, how the South is advancing through construction. So we're going to become rich in news flow again, which is really great.
Yeah, well, I think the key here is that there's not too many people getting into production in your neck of the woods anytime soon. So I think that's the kind of big thing that people are looking towards. I mean, to that end, just so I understand what I should be expecting from you in terms of the, you've got some key geotechnical assumptions around underpinning the mine design, but in terms of dilution assumptions, reconciliation between kind of resource model and mine plan, etc., changes to reserve grade. You talked about stope dimensions changing. There's some refinements and optimizations that will happen as you go through that build phase, presumably. Are you aware of what some of those things are now, or is that just an ongoing monitoring and adapting process?
When I think about Los Ricos South, I think about my 32-year career, and that'll be my number 5. This is the most engineered project I've ever broke ground on. We had extra time. We didn't waste it. We did a lot more engineering. And the resource model, very, very tightly drilled. I don't have any hesitations about saying I have a lot of faith in our resource model, of course, and our reserves, 2P reserves. As we go down the path here now, 75% engineering done, what we're seeing is that we're pretty much right on budget on the process and the surface work stuff. Now, I don't see any big misses here. The study now is about 1.5 years old. There's been some inflation. 227, we would have already spent 7 million of that. And, in the detailed engineering, you go out and you're ordering things, and you're, getting firm bids because people have to stand behind their bid. So, and those are coming right in line. When you get underground, obviously we've done geotechnical surface drilling, and we're doing some more to see if we can expand those levels, which will just make it, optimize. That's where you have more of if there's risk, there's more risk there, not binary risk. It's all risk about, hey, maybe the costs are higher or a little higher, or maybe the CapEx is a little higher, because you really get to know the ground when you get underground, but I don't see that. I'm really kind of digging there for, in my mind, thinking what are the challenging parts of the project. And that would just be logical, that underground is when you get underground there, you optimize more. You've really figured out.
Interesting. I mean, just on that, I think you're in an unenviable position where you've got the CapEx to do what you want to do, and you're not worried about finding the money, the cost of that money, the burden of that money, or whether it be debt or whatever equity you need to raise. You don't have to worry about that. So this optimization around, chasing the right bits of the ore body at the right time is something that you're looking at, or ultimately trying to work out whether maybe the mine can support a higher throughput than you talked about in the feasibility from 1.5 years ago. Those are kind of interesting and good problems to have, it seems.
Yeah, those are very good points, because obviously the metal prices changed a lot. So we're always looking at our life of mine plan, and of course, when you get underground, you do your short-term mine plan, and you'll try to optimize. If anything, maybe we'll, in a good way, lower our grade a bit, because we're going to bring more ounces out, because more ounces in that underground become economic. That being said, if you look at our life of mine plan, in the first 18 months of full commercial production, with our ramp access, and it's just the way the deposit's set up. There's one very high-grade part of the deposit that we'll access first. And there, it would be approximately $400 million US of after-tax free cash flow at these prices that we would be able to access in those 18 months. So you think like a 227 build, and in the first 18 months, you're almost paying it back twice. So it's a very quick payback. Um, and Los Ricos South will produce 7.3 million ounces a year at all-in costs of $12 silver equivalent. So it's not a low margin project, that's for sure. It's a high margin project. And Los Ricos North is projected to be the same. And if you really think about that, today, we have an operation and I'm talking about cash flow, and it's nice to know that you have 70 to 80 million dollars coming in every year after costs, free cash flow out of Parral, which this month we hit the 12 years of continual production there and 5 more years to go. So 280 plus million in the bank, 70, 80 million coming in annually from our producing mine. A team that has, this will be, a lot of the members of the team that I've worked with them in Mexico over 20 years. It wasn't always GoGold, company before GoGold, but, this will be mine number 5. So experience, strong balance sheet, and, great relationships in Mexico, and great, that's all I know. 30 years here. This is what I know is Mexico deposits. So I just say that it's nice, it's great to have this permit and be building a mine, not on a shoestring. Like, we're so well capitalized that, and we're not worried about that at all. And we're doing everything best practices. We're doing everything, as really first class.
Fair point. Like, I did want to sort of talk about metallurgy or kind of like pre-concentration technologies in terms of chasing margin, etc. But I think ultimately it comes down to what you've just said. So it leads me to the question, which is, okay, this is mine build number 5, but what you have been very good at doing is positioning this for sale. Mm-hmm. Right, that's what you've done in the past. That's what your track record was. I guess maybe the market is expecting this to be, follow the same track. How far do you think you need to take that, given the kind of cash position? Because you haven't had that before. That's the new component here.
Yeah, no, I would say that if you look at the lay of the landscape in the silver space, and you think about we'll be a 2-asset company, but really, Parral is the big asset. All that cash, it's obviously there's a lot of M&A out there. Now, we just have our heads down building a mine, and but obviously we're looking for the best value for the shareholders, and you look at all opportunities. But hey, we're a very, very attractive silver company with a GoGold name. But GoGold and silver, but really we're 60% silver. And you look at a lot of the silver companies, and they're not 60% silver revenue. So we will focus on the business and building the mine, but that doesn't mean, opportunities might not arise where it could be very good for the shareholder. That's an obvious conclusion that many people would make. I think, I go to a lot of conferences, and I hear, early stage companies talking about what their business plan is. And many times I hear their business plan is to sell their company, to sell their project. And the only issue with that, and it's an issue GoGold doesn't have, is that you're dependent on somebody else's board of directors making an offer. Here, we're not dependent on that at all. We have all the money. We know how to build mines, and we're going to do that. But if something comes, we'll look at all the opportunities.